Okay, so this is our master class number 2, our wind down, our evening wind down. If it is in the evening for you somewhere and you are doing this watching the replay, you might like some sort of relaxing herbal tea or relaxing essential oil, something like that. But for all of us here now, we have a notebook, a mat, and then any other comfy-wumpy props that you would like. Feel free to dim the lights as we go or anything else like that. This is designed to be like a soothing, calming, releasing kind of practice, which may mean that you just lie on your back and absorb without doing very much. That's okay. I will encourage us all, I know we say this all the time as teachers, but really do please listen to your body, respond appropriately. If you are here in the present moment, you're practicing yoga and everything else is just extra. So let us begin with our 5 minutes of worry writing. So I have taken this term from Charlie Morley's book, Wake Up to Sleep. There are other names for this sort of thing, a brain dump, journal writing, but the idea is that whatever is weighing on our minds, we can lighten the load by writing it down on the page. If you are good at worry writing and journaling, go for it. Just start chugging away. If you need some more prompting, I will give you some prompts. So maybe you're noticing that there has been a thought you keep coming back to today. Some sort of bird chirping in your ear, or something you keep saying to yourself that you really want to get rid of. We can write that down here on paper as a way of saying to ourselves, that's the last time I'm going to think of that. And then we're making space for new thoughts to happen. At any point during our practice, you may also notice there's something weighing on your mind that you want to write down. You could always pause and write it down. And I just realized I will share this as I do it. If anybody else needs to turn their phone ringer off, they can do so now. And some of us may need more or less time to write. So keep writing if you are really chugging along there and you feel it's of benefit. If you're done, we can come into our 3-part breath at any time, dropping into our space of meditation. And for today, I will offer us Apana Mudra. So we just learned that Apana Vayu is sort of a downward grounding movement. So if we think of our day as being this kind of up here buzzing sort of day, and then the evening comes, we want to, the same way we'd shut down a computer, we're gonna shut down our bodies. We will still be doing balanced movement, but I will offer us Apana Mudra. So our mudras are hand poses that represent certain things and inspire us in certain ways. We can take our thumb to our middle 2 fingers. And one of my classmates said, it's kind of like rock star energy, but we want to bring it down. So if we've been having that rock star energy during our day, we can bring it down and just let the backs of the hands rest on the knees. Yes, of course, we could be doing this sitting in a chair or anywhere else we need to. So our thumb is just gently tapping against our middle and ring fingers, and the other fingers are loose. And when we're ready, closing the eyes here, turning our attention inward. And this morning we lifted the chin to feel more energized. this afternoon or this evening, we can drop the chin, lengthening out the back of the neck. And this may feel a little uncomfortable because we spend so much of our day often trying to stay awake, keep our energy up. But let's learn to embrace that feeling of our energy dropping as our head drops, sort of the way that our head might bob if we start to fall asleep doing something boring in the afternoon. So we're going to embody that head drooping at our desk at 2:30 in the afternoon feeling. Knowing that it's okay to sit here in this downward moving kind of energy. And we don't need to try to wake ourselves up here. We can stay in this space of our Apana Vayu. And we still have good posture. We're not deflating while we're here. Tall spine. Full 3-part breath. Activating our core muscles, imagining that we are kind of shrink wrapping our internal organs very slightly. Our muscles hugging our internal digestion organs. You may have a favorite affirmation or an intention to set. And if not, maybe something like, I am allowing time for rest. And when we are ready to get moving, we can gently begin to wake the body. So it's typical, we open our eyes, we sit tall. Inhale, we're sweeping arms overhead, and exhaling, hands down through heart. If we want to keep our energy a little bit more gentle, we may be doing a smaller range of motion. So we're lifting without overdoing. So depending on who you are and where you are, let's say it's a really hot day for you, and this would be building way too much heat. We'd have trouble settling down for sleep. That's cool. We're still enjoying the benefit of matching breath to movement to focus body and mind, or yoga union to create a union between body, breath, and mind, or maybe inhaling up, scooping the hands, and then pressing down. So we're still balanced through our various vayus, inhalation and exhalation. And when we are ready, we will begin to move the body. So we may be a little creaky in our spines. Let's do our various movements of our spines to warm up the body. We'll start with lateral flexion. So again, generally we tend to do these big sweeps, inhaling up and over, and that may be exactly what you need in this moment. But if you feel that it will be too rousing to you right before bed, maybe we're just sliding the hands, getting the benefit of lateral flexion without overdoing it in the range of motion in the shoulders. And we're practicing an even breath here. Inhale matching the exhale. Maybe one side's a little tighter than the other. We want to do an extra rep to that tight side, and then we're ready to meet back in the middle. Let's do rotation. Again, this is a nice way. Maybe at the end of the day, we're thinking about digesting our emotions and feelings. So let's do some twisting movements here. I like to start sometimes from the ribs. We engage our tall posture, and then noticing which side maybe feels a little bit more natural to go to. Let's go ahead and twist to the more natural side first, just for fun. And then we can twist to the other side. So we're flowing side to side, seated twist. Maybe we're bringing hands to heart center. Maybe hand to opposite knee. Maybe, yes, we are feeling moved to do these big sweeping arms. But twists can be quite heating. So we're careful not to cook ourselves. And if we remember which side we started on, finishing on the opposite side. We're meeting back in center. And then we're ready for child's pose. So we'll sit to one hip, we swing our legs around, and sitting down and back into child's, a comfortable child's for you. So we may be noticing the lower parts of our digestion being stimulated, that apana feeling as our thigh presses against our belly. So this one can actually be a nice one to do before bed sometimes to stimulate digestion. But for now, let's come on up onto all fours and we'll make our way through cat and cow. Starting from a neutral spine, engaging strength. And maybe we like that rippling movement that we sometimes do. So starting from the base of the spine, tucking the tail, lengthening the low back, mid back, upper back, back of the neck, and then reversing the movement, untucking the tail, shortening the low back, mid back, upper back, and then freeing the neck to look more forward. Remembering that we don't have to do too much. A little bit is enough. And I often like to finish with cow as a reminder to my posture, lengthening out the belly after a day of sometimes slouching. And then as we're ready, settling back again into child's, or perhaps we're feeling more like downward dog today. That's okay too. In either pose, embracing stillness or maybe movement. Coming to kneeling lunge here. So we'll step the right foot between the hands and let's do a good enough distance, a big enough step forward. That might mean we need to take 2 steps. But oftentimes we get really tight and kind of cramped up through the front of the hips, either through intense activity, going for a run, that kind of thing, or sitting, scrolling Facebook, whatever it might be. So opening the hips up sometimes can be releasing, relieving, and helpful for sleep. Finding comfortable range of motion for each of us. So yes, of course, we have our various arms overhead, cactus. We did chest expansion earlier today. Hands on thigh or floor would be more of a softening variation, right? So we could use that support so we don't have to have as much exertion. But as always, we're breathing, feeling, letting go of any need to go deeper, and then adjusting ourselves to get, I don't know, what did we come here for? And it may be different for each of us. Okay, and now that we are here, let's do a good strong press into that front heel. And our hands, we're making our way back into child's or downward facing dog to switch sides. So nothing too fancy. We're just taking it one side to the other and setting ourselves up for a kneeling lunge. This side may be asking for or inviting us into a slightly different variation. Perfect, go for it. We're making our way back into down dog or child's, yogi's choice. And then let's make our way into a seated position. So this is where we're really going to tap into our apana sensations. And you may be flat on the floor. We'll be doing a couple of different seated positions. We'll be here for a little while. So if it's of benefit, then maybe we like to use a cushion or something like that. Let's begin with a seated forward fold. And in keeping with this theme of doing but not overdoing, yes, okay, we could do our legs straight, but maybe we want to do maybe more like our standing forward fold, a bent knee, resting our belly on our thighs, and then releasing forward from here. So we're still getting the benefit of closing the body, tapping into this downward movement feeling, but without an intense stretch. But the same way as we did with our kneeling lunge, if it feels like an invitation, it feels like our body is asking us to, of course, we can go ahead and straighten the legs, coming forward. And if it doesn't feel like an invitation, yes, of course, we could be coming out. Always could be an opportunity to practice stillness and breath. And maybe on our next breath, with our breath out, we can sink a little further. And we'll make our way into a wide-legged forward fold. So we can set up in a similar way to how we did our narrow together forward fold. We can start from bent legs. So depending on who you are, I have lots of clients that if they put their legs out straight, they'll be way back here in their wide-legged forward fold. And instead of getting a nice stretch in the legs, they maybe just feel strain on the low back. So let's start with the feet planted and see if we can feel some release through the inner thighs. An opportunity as well to work our posture, building that ability to sit tall. Depending again on who you are, you might feel a little shake here. And of course, yes, if you can fold yourself in half like a fold away bed, Cirque du Soleil, go ahead and do so. Every body is different, right? And in the same way that maybe we struggle with what sleep should look like, what it should be like, how it should feel. But if we actually want to have release and relaxation, we need to stop shoulding all over ourselves. Same thing in our poses, right? Instead of thinking about how it should look or should be or should feel, noticing what's actually happening in this very present moment. And then maybe being more discerning about what actually feels beneficial and feels good. And that may mean coming out of this and sitting in a different pose. But if it feels good, we could do our sinking breath here. So with our inhale, noticing this lifted feeling of inhalation. And with our exhale, allowing this feeling of sinking to come into the pose. And as our bodies feel comfortable or safe, the stretch response kicks in, inhaling, lifting, exhaling, sinking, and focusing on that sinking sensation. So we still have this intake of prana, vayu, feeling breath and nourishment, and then exhaling, allowing this apana grounding feeling of release, letting go of tension, coming into the body. What else can we be letting go of here? Yes, competition, judgment, expectation. When you're ready, we can make our way out of this pose. And I will teach us a physiological sigh. We could do this one lying down as well. But this is, again, another, my beloved Andrew Huberman. We did our eyes up in our sinking poses. We were looking down maybe in our meditation. We could take the eyes down, opened or closed. And our physiological sigh is another one of his little tips to help ourselves calm down for sleep. So if you ever notice at some point in your life, you're lying down on your yoga mat, you're in a beach chair, I don't know, we see it in movies, movie characters do it too. There's sort of this that happens. And sometimes it can feel very stressful. People do it when they're irritated by someone else. But sometimes it can feel very relieving. This is our Udana Vayu, our release. So this is how Andrew Huberman says to do it. 2 inhales and an exhale. We inhale to about 75, 80%, and then 100, and then release. So it looks like this. Exhaling mouth or nose, yogi's choice. Let's give us enough time to try it here. So we can do inhale to about 75, 80%. So a gentle filling. And then a really full feeling, might feel kind of forced. And then we release. And you may like to do a more vocal sigh out. That's up to you. Let's try it out a couple more times. And one more time, let's take the eyes down, reminding ourselves to relax and release. We could do another round of sinking breath here. And if we feel like we're in a sleepy, kind of grounded energy place, perfect. And if we don't, that's okay too. Practicing our skill of awareness. And then we are ready to make our way to lie on our backs. So we'll finish here in supine, making ourselves comfortable however you need to be. Feel free to put on any extra layers or grab a drink like me. And then as we get down here, maybe we want some releasing movements. Turning the head side to side, opening and closing the jaw. Knees to chest, windshield wipe, whatever feels right. And being aware of our eyes as well. So I would say resist straining to really look at me, relaxing the muscles around our eyes. And I encourage each of us, as much as we're comfortable, to close the eyes. So I'm not going to be doing any fancy, amazing, skilled poses. At least I don't think so. I will do my best to lead us through with my voice, and feel free to modify as we go. So we'll start with knees to chest. And we can come into a variation of dead bug, although we may prefer happy baby, that's okay too. I like to do a pretty easygoing dead bug, hands behind the thighs, and then putting the legs into kind of a chair pose. Very low exertion, letting my shoulders rest into the mat. Some days I will hold on to my pant legs or my shorts instead of holding the legs. But if we feel the need for more sensation, yes, of course, we could do our big toe yogi hold, applying even pressure. Toe pushes into fingers, fingers push into toe, drawing down with the upper body, and then kicking up with the lower body. So finding a soft edge, like we were talking with our Viana Vayu, not always going to 100% maximum in our extremities, softening the edges of the pose. What can we allow to loosen up, melt, dissolve? Noticing our bodies are also touching air, body touching body, body touching mat and clothing. We are aware of the edges of our physical body. And let's go ahead and release the legs. So we'll do figure 4 here again, as we did this morning. This morning we started right over left. How about for this evening, we start left over right. We could be doing what I call, daytime, I called it cloud gazer's pose. And now we're going to call it stargazer's pose. See, I'm very creative like that. So if we're thinking evening, we could be picturing a beautiful cloudless night, velvet blue sky, glimmering stars. Not a lot of sensation in our figure 4. Maybe we're rocking back and forth. Rocking movements can be quite soothing. And this is nice for our shoulders to release into the mat. Maybe our fingers are a little cranky today after so much writing, typing. Did a couple of mudras and handholds. But if we do want more sensation, yeah, we could draw our legs in for a variation of figure 4. Rather than an even breath, maybe we are lengthening out our exhale here. If we like to do counting, inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 8. Working towards a smooth, gentle, conscious, mindful, but without struggling or efforting too much. Easygoing breath, but still controlled. And when we're ready to release, we can go right to the other side. Maybe we are stargazing, closing our eyes, picturing a beautiful night sky. We could be inhaling for 4, exhaling for 8. And let's see how much work we can give over to gravity. We could be rocking side to side, soothing movement for the body, the same way we would rock a baby. How can we care for ourselves? How can we rock ourselves? At some point, releasing. And I'll give us the option for a twist here.
If we like these really subtle movements we've been doing, maybe actually we're just windshield wiping the knees to one side and leaving them there. If we would like more sensation in our twist, we're probably warmer now than we were before. I'll give us the option for a deeper twist. So we twisted hips to the right in the morning. Okay, how about we get fancy? We'll hips to the left now. So from a kind of prep pose, constructive rest, we'll pick up the pelvis, move it a little bit to the left, straighten the right leg, draw the left knee across to the right side. Our right hand, of course, could add to this apana sensation and samana sensation, getting twisting and digestion going as we draw the knee down. Or we could make it a lot more subtle. We're just hanging out here, seeing if instead of holding ourselves in our supine twist, we can be held by the mat. Simply due to the nature of gravity, we are here on the floor and giving over some work to gravity, letting the knee be drawn down towards the earth. We'll make our way back through center. And as we're ready, we can switch to the other side. Pelvis goes right, right knee to the left. Noticing our internal dialogue here. So it may be helpful to say to ourselves, relax. Sometimes relax is a loaded word. So maybe instead we're saying loosen, loosen, loosen. Or release. Maybe we're saying inner peace. We're ready to come back through center. And to balance this closing movement of the body that we've been doing, maybe we're ready for another bridge pose. Some of us may like wheel. It may be in our practice for a fish pose. So we could be holding here in bridge. We could do a couple rounds of bridge. I will lead us through an option for fish, should you choose. We also have, depending on your own personal practice, we could set up for restorative fish and leave it there. Otherwise, if you want to join me for a fish pose, I know I said back bends are supposed to be energizing. We can use them to burn up our last little bit of energy before rest as well. So often we come into fish by energizing and activating the lower body. We can point our feet, maybe doing Barbie toes, pointing the foot, but flexing the toes for that muscular engagement. Sometimes we take our hands underneath our bums, dropping our body weight onto our forearms, like a beautiful fish jumping through the water. We could keep the eyes closed because we know that looking up is energizing, but closing the eyes feels more peaceful. And we should be able to breathe fairly comfortably while we are here. It might be a lot more comfortable to tuck the chin, to point the nose more forward. Some of us like to go way, way, way far back, listening to our bodies, our necks, our spines here. And then as we are ready, coming out and releasing. Again, I will give us one more option for a pose if it is suitable for today. We may like to put our feet on a chair or the couch, depending on if you're in your living room. If we would like to do legs up the wall, you know how it goes. We take our bum as close to the wall as possible, and then we use the strength in our arms and core to bring our legs up. And then any restful leg position that we can think of. We could butterfly the legs, we could do a wide-legged position, we could have the legs straight, staying only as long as feels good. So of course, if we're getting numb in our feet or toes or something like that, that's not really the idea, but we will finish at this point. So this will be our last pose. Whenever we are ready to move into legs up, go for it. And if not, coming into any other comfortable position. Alrighty, let's come back to our breath. You may have at some point felt the impulse to do another physiological sigh. Fantastic. That means it's working. I often find that when I lie on my mat before bed, at some point I feel this kind of release. And if you've ever done the basic exercise where we move the eyes, you might get that sort of feeling, or tapping. Lots of other practices will bring on a sigh or a yawn, but we can encourage that same feeling in the body by intentionally sighing or yawning. So how do we do that? As easy as it sounds. We might like to do that physiological sigh again, inhaling 75, 80%, then 100. Then we sigh it out all in one go. Or even just, as silly as it sounds, fake a yawn. Kids are very good at this. Channel your inner child, or maybe the way you would pretend around a child. Just give yourself a yawn. And then we settle into stillness. So I'm going to stay up so I don't fall asleep and so that I can better project my voice. Please be in a position that is comfortable for you. So I did suggest supported fish or legs up the wall. You could just be lying comfortably on your back or your side. And we can be tapping into our sinking breath again. With an inhale, noticing all parts of the body that are touching the surface beneath you. Exhaling, surrendering to the mat, letting all those spots press more deeply into our yoga mats. Inhaling, noticing all points of contact between the body and the mat, the floor, the earth, whatever we want to call it. Exhaling, allowing our body to drop into these points even more. So we're balanced between this place of a light inhale and a heavy supported exhale, allowing our bodies to feel grounded. And we may start to doze off. That's fantastic. In a way, we are practicing relaxing and falling asleep. And we are going to move into a yoga nidra. So you may like to just come flat on your back again for a yoga nidra. If you are new to yoga nidra, I will guide us through.
It is a type of guided meditation. You can listen to me. If you get good at it, you can lead yourself through. What I love about Yoga Nidra is just this sense of take the pressure off, relax, be guided. You can't mess it up. If you fall asleep, they say it's still working. If you stay awake, it's still working. So follow my voice as we go through. We won't do the world's longest Yoga Nidra. So traditionally, Yoga Nidra begins with a Sankalpa, heartfelt desire, resolve, goal, intention, whatever we want to call it. If by chance any of us are working with a Sankalpa, we can use that for today. Fantastic. And if we don't have a Sankalpa for today, maybe something like, I am releasing into rest, or I am well rested would be a good option here. And then when we find a Sankalpa that feels good, we always phrase it in an I am statement, or pretty much always. Maybe sometimes there's an exception to that rule, but generally I statement in the present tense as though it is already true, and picturing it in our minds in vibrant, shimmering technicolor as though it's already happened. Repeating our Sankalpa now to ourselves a few times. I am releasing into rest. And in another act of letting go, we can let our Sankalpa go. And let's begin a rotation of awareness. So we'll take our awareness or our consciousness around our body. As I name each body part, simply letting our attention rest there, attaching no meaning or importance to it, and then moving on to the next part. Simply following the sound of my voice, directing our attention. And let's begin. Bringing our awareness to the right side of the body. Right hand. Right hand thumb. The tip of each finger. First finger. Second finger. Third finger. Fourth finger. Palm of the hand. Back of the hand. The right wrist. The length of the arm. Shoulder. The right hip. The length of the right leg. Ankle. Foot. The tip of each toe. First toe. Second toe. Third toe. Fourth toe. Fifth toe. Become aware of the left side of the body. Left hand. left hand thumb, the tip of each finger, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, the palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, the length of the left arm, shoulder, hip, the length of the leg, ankle, foot, the tip of each toe, first toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, noticing both sides of the body, right side, left side, the back of the body, right shoulder blade, left shoulder blade, right side of the back, left side of the back, the whole back, the spine, right glute, left glute, both glutes together, back of the arms, back of the legs, back of the head, the entire back of the body, resting down on the mat. On the inhale, drawing in a feeling of lightness. And the exhale, drawing in a comfortable feeling of weight. So we can stay in this space between light and heavy, inhale and exhale. And let's add counting. We'll count backwards just from 10 for today. Inhaling 10, exhaling 10, inhaling 9, exhaling 9, and so on until we run out of numbers. Our next technique, we'll do a 4-7-8 breath. So lots of people like to do this in bed to help them fall asleep. However, it is not recommended to be done in a supported fish or a legs up the wall pose. So if you are in supported fish or legs up the wall, we can move into a supine position. And if you are so super extra comfy where you are in supported fish or legs up the wall, feel free to just listen to my instructions and try the 4-7-8 tonight when you do get into bed. So here is what it is. It is an inhale for 4. We pause gently and hold the breath for 7. And then we exhale 4, 8, and start again. And I always like to say that it is a relaxed breath holding. So we can think of it as an isometric of the diaphragm, an isometric muscular contraction. So our diaphragm muscle pulls down. And there's sort of a suspension rather than when we're jumping into cold water. That's not what we're going for. So let's go ahead and try it here. Inhaling comfortably for a count of 4. Whatever count of 4 feels comfortable to us. Gently hold for 7. And exhaling for a count of 8. 4, 7, 8, breath. For beginners, it is recommended to do it 4 rounds. So give us enough time to do another 3 rounds. And if we've done this before, they say up to a maximum of 8 rounds, but no more than that. So it'll give us a little extra time as well. If this breath style is not working for us today, simply inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 4, or maybe inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 8. All right, so let's have a little bit of time here simply to breathe in a way that feels good for each of us. So the new breath, if you haven't heard of it before, I'll say it one more time. 4-7-8. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. Let's give it a shot. And we may like to do a pursed lip exhale or sigh out. Of course, our number one goal is to breathe so that we feel we're getting enough air. And then when we're at the end of those 4 to 8 rounds of our 4-7-8, noticing what kind of an effect that had on us, if any. Practicing our skill of observation and then releasing, coming into the present, breathing and noticing how we're feeling in the new present moment. And I will leave us in quiet here for a few moments. Please make this time for whatever we need it to be. we'll finish wherever we are. We can take our hands over heart if that feels right, or hands to heart center. We can stay supine. But thank you so much for making time in your life to be here with me and everybody else. My light to yours. Namaste.